What's up, South Hills? This is Mr. Bartley. Now, this week, first things first, from Monday, I need you guys to get your notebook updated because I'm going to be doing a notebook check the second you get back. Not waiting a second longer, so make sure you have all your Revolutionary War notes. It's in the Revolutionary War folder, so take care of that. But in class, we are going to be watching Alexander Hamilton. Okay, so Alexander Hamilton is a very important person in our history. One of the more influential founding fathers, has a very interesting story. And you're going to see a lot of that story in class. So first things first, the play, the musical. It is a smash hit sensation that won pretty much every award that can be won by a play. So even if you're not into musicals, this is going to be a pretty satisfying experience because it's done really well. And it marries like hip hop and like the founding fathers in a very interesting and unique way. So we're going to be watching Alexander Hamilton, but who is this man? And that's what I'm going to be answering for you guys today. So first things first, let's talk about where he was born. Alexander Hamilton was born in what at the time was known as the British West Indies. Today it's known as the Virgin Islands. And he lived a very, very unique life as a youngster because he was pretty much abandoned. His father abandoned him, and his mother died when he was very young, and so Alexander Hamilton had to pretty much learn on his own how to survive. He worked on the island of St. Croix, and that is what you see there. He would eventually come to America to study because he proved himself to be a very eloquent writer, and he was smart. And the people on St. Croix recognized that. They all raised money for him to come to America and study at King's College in New York, which what today is known as Columbia University. So, yeah, pretty smart guy. Anyway, I don't know why anyone would leave that island. Like, why would you go from that, like, to this? I don't know. But anyway, I guess he was ambitious, and he wanted to make a name for himself. So, how did he make a name for himself? Well, Alexander Hamilton, he rose through the ranks in the military. That's really where he distinguished himself, and he caught the eye of George Washington. He was a very, very good soldier, a good leader, and George Washington recognized that and eventually made him what's called the aide-de-camp. Now, an aide-de-camp is a very, very important position. Basically, he was George Washington's right-hand man, and you can't get closer to influence and power in America than in the inner circle of George Washington. So Alexander Hamilton at the Battle of Yorktown. Now what you're looking at here, this picture, is the actual surrender of Lord Cornwallis at the Battle of Yorktown. This is the last battle of the Revolutionary War. It was a siege of a town called Yorktown, and Alexander Hamilton led a raid on a fortified position that the British had been holding, and he very, very successfully did this raid. So he distinguished himself as a great soldier and a brave man. And this story was written up and it gave him a lot of fame. And Alexander Hamilton, he had a chip on his shoulder about making a name for himself, and he had no family name. All the rest of the founding fathers had family names. They had long histories and wealthy parents and lots of influence that was kind of built into their lives, where Alexander Hamilton didn't have that. He had to basically earn all that, and he saw the military as a way for that to happen, and boom, he did it successfully. After the war, Alexander Hamilton studied law, and he passed the bar, and so he became a full-on lawyer. And he later was invited to the Constitutional Convention, and he was part of the Constitutional Convention, part of the authoring of the Constitution. He wasn't so influential in the actual Constitution writing part, but after the Constitution was ratified by the Constitutional Convention, it had to be accepted by the states. And in order to make that happen, there was a series of essays that these guys wrote. So you had this guy named John Jay, you have James Madison, and you have Alexander Hamilton. All three of these guys wrote a ton of essays, and they published them in newspapers. And they became known as the Federalist Papers. And they're all designed to defend the Constitution. And Alexander Hamilton wrote 51 essays. There were 75 of them. He wrote 51 of them. So you guys complain about writing one essay. Alexander Hamilton wrote 51. Come on now, get with it. Bottom line though, the Federalist Papers would become a very important part of our history. We often consult the Federalist Papers to see what the Founding Fathers really meant by the different parts of the Constitution. It's kind of like an explanation of what the thinking was of each part of the Constitution. So at any rate, Alexander Hamilton writes a lot of these Federalist Papers, and very important. And when George Washington becomes president, Alexander Hamilton serves as the first Treasury Secretary, which is a very, very important position. So Alexander Hamilton, throughout his life, he was known as a very combative person, strong personality, didn't take junk from anyone, stood up for what he believed in, and was pretty, forceful about that. He wasn't a very, mild-mannered guy. Bottom line, he made a lot of enemies, and one of his greatest enemies was a man named Aaron Burr. Aaron Burr was a part of the different political party. Alexander Hamilton was a pro-federal government guy. He was known as a Federalist. Aaron Burr was a Democrat-Republican, which basically, in other words, is a person who wants power to be rested in the states, not in the federal government. And Alexander Hamilton and him just were diametrically opposed, always rivals. Well, Alexander Hamilton apparently talked a little trash about him at a dinner. Aaron Burr found out about that, called him out, wrote him a letter. Alexander Hamilton said, yeah, whatever, I did it, so what's your point? And, one thing led to another. Eventually, a duel of honor is called. A duel of honor is basically old-timey for saying, I disagree with you, so we're going to shoot each other. And that's exactly what happened. They say Alexander Hamilton purposely missed. Okay, this happened in a place called Weehawken, New Jersey. And Alexander Hamilton apparently shot, and purposely he threw his shot, and Aaron Burr didn't. Aaron Burr shot and killed Alexander Hamilton, thus ending his political career and ending Alexander Hamilton's life. So the legacy of Alexander Hamilton is a story of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, so to speak, starting from nothing, becoming very powerful and influential, using your intellect and your bravery to gain notoriety. And it's also the story of unfortunate tragedy, the early ending of a life that shouldn't have ever happened. So you're going to see Alexander Hamilton. We're not going to see all of it. We're just going to watch the first act. So a lot of the story you're not going to be able to see. But hey, get Disney Plus. It's on there. That's where we're watching it. All right, that's all I have to say about Alexander Hamilton. We'll see you this week. Be prepared to have some fun. Oh, don't forget to bring some food if you want to. And and a permission slip, very important. If you don't have your permission slip done, you can always get your permission slip on Schoology right here. I will show you. I'm looking at Schoology, so if I'm not looking at the camera, that's what's going on here, folks. And right here, I'm moving my mouse over top of it. Right there, Alexander Hamilton permission slip. You have to print it because I need to have an actual signature on it. And all course notes right here. And inside of there, Revolutionary War notes. And all those 4 notes need to be copied. Okay, that's all I got to say about that. Peace out. See you this week to watch Hamilton.